Lean closer. They felt it before you spoke, a pressure in the room, eyes shifting, smiles freezing. You didn't try. That's the problem. You passed tests they didn't know were happening. While they rehearsed, you arrived finished. No noise, no flex, just clarity. And that scares systems built on confusion. They call it luck, timing, attitude, anything but truth. Because if they admit how fast you see, they must admit how slow they are. So they whisper, they delay, they redesign rules. Not to stop you, to survive you. Your mind isn't gifted. It's illegal in their world. And tonight, we explain why you didn't enroll. That's the joke. No clipboard, no warning. Just rooms and eyes. Every smile was a scanner. Every joke, a probe. They weren't talking. They were measuring. How fast you caught it. How little you said. They changed topics, mid-sentence. To see if you followed, you did, effortlessly. That pause, a trap. That laugh, a checksum. They dropped bad logic, on purpose, to see if you'd flinch. You didn't correct them. You adjusted. That's when the room shifted. Because intelligence that announces itself is manageable. But intelligence that hides, that's illegal. They asked opinions. They already answered. They watched where your eyes went. Clock, door, exit. You mapped the room before sitting down. You noticed who led without speaking. You noticed who repeated. Instead of thinking, they felt exposed. You felt bored. That's the imbalance. While they performed, you observed. While they explained, you compressed. They needed validation. You needed accuracy. So they tested again. Casual insults, backhanded praise, lucky, talented, different. Translation, uncontrollable. They slowed the pace, added rules, more meetings, more noise. That's not structure. That's padding. You passed anyway. Not loudly, not proudly. Quiet passes hurt the most, because now they can't deny it. You weren't trained, you weren't coached, you didn't grind for permission, you just saw it. That's when they stopped calling it skill. They called it a problem, a threat, an anomaly, because systems can forgive failure. They can't forgive clarity, especially when it costs them nothing. So understand this, the exam was never academic. It was social, psychological. Could you see through it without exposing them? Could you win without celebrating? You did. And now, they don't know what to do with you because you passed the hidden exam. And you didn't even know you were taking it. You didn't struggle. That's the crime. They bled for their progress. You arrived clean, no visible effort, no heroic story, just results. And results without suffering. Break the myth, because pain is their currency. They worship grind, hours, exhaustion, not because it works, because it's visible. Struggle is easy to police, ease, suspicious. They ask, how long did it take? Not to learn, to justify rank. Your answer ruins the latter. It made sense. That sentence terrifies systems. Because if clarity exists, then confusion was optional. And someone chose it. You don't explain with 10 steps. You collapse it into one. They call that oversimplifying. No, that's compression. They decorate complexity to hide gaps. You remove noise and expose structure. That's why they look offended. You skipped rituals, no late nights, to prove loyalty, no suffering, to earn respect. You didn't need their pain to validate your mind, and that's unforgivable. Because if ease is real, then their struggle was unnecessary. So they rewrite the story. You got lucky, right place, natural talent, anything but efficiency, because efficiency exposes waste, and waste has names. So they slow you down, extra steps, extra rules, meetings about meetings. They call it process. It's padding. You move anyway, not faster, cleaner, less motion, more impact. That's when resentment forms, not loud, administrative, sudden standards, vague expectations. They don't say stop, they say do it properly. Translation, suffer like us. But you won't, because ease isn't laziness, it's mastery. Without theatrics, it's seeing the answer before the room finishes, the question. And that's the paradox. The smarter you are, the less it looks like work, which means the less credit you're allowed. So understand this, they don't hate your intelligence, they hate that it didn't cost you what it cost them, because if your ease is valid, then their pain was optional, and that thought is unbearable. That's why they don't call it brilliance, they call it unfair. And fairness, in their world, is just struggle, spread evenly. You broke that balance by making it look easy. They never sent an invitation, because invitations are for people who need permission. This club doesn't recruit, it notices, quietly. No banners, no speeches, just doors that open. When you walk past, you thought you were behind. That was the test. They let you believe you were early or late, never equal, because equals compare. And this place, it categorizes. There are levels you don't hear about, not ranked by titles, by compression. How much truth you can hold without shaking, how fast you can see patterns without bragging. They watched how you reacted to boredom. That's the giveaway. Genius panics when ignored. Graduates. Donnet, they watched if you asked for access, you explored alone. It's when you graduation, with no ceremony, no applause, no cap in the air. Just a sudden change in how people respond. Shorter explanations, longer pauses. They stopped teaching you. They started checking you. That's the club, not elite, isolated, because speed creates distance. You don't talk like them anymore, not because you're better, because you're ahead, and ahead sounds rude to the unprepared. They exchange looks when you speak, not confusion, calculation. Can we control this? Can we slow it down? They introduce rules after you've passed them. They call it fairness. It's not. It's containment. This club has no logo, no headquarters. It's a frequency. You either hear it or you don't, and once you do, small talk feels scripted. Authority feels rehearsed. You see who memorized paths and who builds them. That's when loneliness hits. Not emotional, structural. There are fewer minds at this altitude, so they call you distant, arrogant, cold. That's protection language, because the truth is simpler. You're not excluded. You're ahead of the door, already inside a room they don't know exists. And that's why they fear you. Not because you joined the secret club, but because you never needed to be invited. Same mind, different reaction. That's where the split happens. Some people lean in quietly, their eyes soften, they listen. They don't ask how you know. They ask what you see next. To them, you're an exit, proof that clarity is possible. That thought saves them. Others, they stiffen, arms cross, jaws tighten. They feel judged without being accused, because awareness is a mirror, and mirrors don't argue. To them, you're not human. You're a glitch, something that makes their effort look theatrical. They don't hear your words. They hear a verdict, so they choose a role, angel or monster, not based on you, based on what they're protecting. If your presence gives them hope, you relight. If it exposes their shortcuts, your danger. Same behavior, same tone, different fear. They'll praise you in private, sharp, different, rare. Then undercut you in groups. It's just their style. They don't get people. That's not feedback. That's damage control. Because monsters must be explained away, and angels must be controlled. So they test your reaction. Do you soften to be liked? Do you dull to fit? Do you apologize for clarity? That choice defines your future. Because once labeled, it sticks. Angels get used, carried forward, until they burn out. Monsters get isolated, cornered, provoked, hope to explode. They want proof they were right. But you don't give them either. You don't perform kindness. You don't perform cruelty. You stay accurate. That's when both sides get uneasy, because accuracy doesn't take sides. It just stands there, watching, waiting, and something else happens. People start copying you. Your phrases, your pauses, your restraint, not your thinking, your surface. That's the tell. Angels inspire imitation. Monsters inspire surveillance. You get both. Meetings where nothing is decided. Decisions where you weren't present. Smiles that don't reach the eyes. All because you exist without asking permission. So remember this. If they can't decide whether you're an angel or a monster, it means you're neither. You're a standard, and standards don't comfort people, they reveal them. That's why the room changes when you enter, not because of power, because of truth. And truth never picks a side. It just exposes who was pretending. Something tilts, quietly, not a revolt, a rebalance. They used to decide, now they hesitate. Authority stutters. When clarity arrives, rules appear late. After you've moved, that's panic. They call meetings to slow motion. You call patterns to end confusion. Control doesn't vanish, it leaks. Through delays, through tone. You stop explaining, they start justifying. That's the shift. Power doesn't announce itself, it relocates. From loud voices to calm presence, from permission to inevitability, they still hold titles. You hold direction, and direction always wins. You stop reacting. That's when it happens. No defense, no debate, just calm. That calm unnerves them. Because anger, they can manage. Silence, no handles. Your smile isn't joy, it's certainty. You've already seen the ending. They speak faster, you speak less. They fill space, you leave gaps. Those gaps pull them apart. They wonder what you know. They imagine what you haven't said. That's the fear, not menace, not threat, understanding. And once they feel it, they can't unsee it. You don't need to win. They collapse on their own. You stop trying to belong. That's the final move, not rebellion. Release. You see it now. The system wasn't built to recognize minds like yours. It was built to slow them, to file edges, to reward noise. You don't break rules, you outgrow them. That's why nothing fits anymore. Titles feel decorative, praise feels late. You're not ahead of people, you're ahead of structures, and structures hate that. They call you difficult, unpredictable, not because you are, but because you can't be placed. You don't need permission to move. You move and permission scrambles to catch up. That's when it clicks. Your mind was never meant to be legal here. It sees too fast, compresses too clean. So stop apologizing, stop translating, stop shrinking thoughts for rooms that profit from confusion. You're not an error, you're a bypass, a quiet one. Systems don't fall because of noise. They fail when something works without them, and that's you, not crowned, not followed, just standing outside the maze, watching others realize there was never a wall, only instructions. They never questioned. You did, and that's why you can't go back, because once you see it, the game ends for you.